Do you have reoccurring feelings of being alone, of really not liking the feeling of alone, being alone? And perhaps that's one of the reasons why you stay in a relationship that you are not really happy with. In this video, I want to give you the 2 reasons why this is actually happening. And I've just had a client story who's been going through exactly this example, like feeling alone, fear of being alone. I want to share it with you. Hey, I'm Cummins. I'm an energy healer, a self-love mentor, and a spiritual guide, here to assist you to love yourself unconditionally so that you can be the director of your life. So my client had this problem again and again of not doing the certain action that she wants to do, leaving her boyfriend, who is not really suited to her, but he's the dad of her little girl. And so therefore it's extra difficult. So every time she thinks about leaving him, there is a fear coming up. The fear of being alone and not being able to make it on her own. And so therefore she's really preferring for now to stay where she is, even though it's not really making her happy or fulfilled. And there is a lack of love and intimacy and truth-telling there, actually. So now, how to get over that? What do you do? And the way I work with people is to really connect with that fear. And this fear has come up recently, just like she was losing an object. Something got lost, and those same feelings got triggered that were actually present at the root cause of this fear. So I take her back to connect with a little girl who was 7, and she found herself at the funeral of her dad. And the little girl was in tears and couldn't believe what happened. She didn't believe her dad was really gone, and she was actually busy getting rid of all the flowers on top of the coffin because she wanted to open that thing and see her dad and really have the proof that he is not there anymore. And so that's where we started off. So she was in rage and she was in deep grief and she couldn't believe it, and she was all alone. Everybody around her, including her mom, they were beside themselves with grief, and they were hardly able to hold themselves together. And this little girl needed her mom to be held, to be comforted, to be not alone. And so she was going back to that time, and then I asked the question of, what did you need? What did you need as the little girl? And number 1, she wanted to be hugged, she wanted to be held, and she wanted to feel somebody there with her. So she could now give that to herself. So she used all her own compassion and gave all her love to her little girl, which helped her to relax. And then I asked her again, what do you need now? And now she needed to have an explanation. What's happened here? Where is dad? Why did he go? And then I asked her, okay, so who can give you that explanation? And immediately she said, my hand. And her hand is the hand of God. It's her connection that she saw coming down when she asked for a certain thing. And this hand offered her an explanation. So it really was coming from her higher self, who she's always connected to. And the hand said that he is now in no more pain. He's now at peace. He's still with you. He's just sleeping, and you will see him again. And then she had this newfound connection again, because she had all this anger in her that her dad would leave her all by herself, being only 7 years old. And how can you do that, and so on. And she was busy with that sort of thinking, and she forgot the connection to her higher self. Maybe nobody had ever told her about that. But in that moment, she reconnected herself to her higher self. And therefore, she could actually feel the love again towards her dad. She could remember all the nice times she had. And she could actually feel that, yes, we are still connected. And that shifted the whole perspective for her, you know. So the first thing that was really important to recognize was that it was her ego self, her human self, or her shadow self that felt all alone. There was no help at all at that moment, seemingly no help at all. And then when I asked her, what did you need? And then she actually worded what she needed, and she got it. She got the connection to her higher self. She got the feeling of there is always someone there for me, with me, looking over me, giving me whatever I am asking for. So then the feeling of being alone became actually false. It wasn't true that she was alone, but she was only focused on her human self, the ego self, that actually identifies with being separate and alone. And therefore the ego self would always go out and look for love from others, to look for company and comfort from others. But in truth, we are never alone. We have the connection to our higher self. And as soon as we remember that, it is there. So it's all about our thinking, our awareness, and our wisdom and knowledge that we are never alone. And that's why the ego self will always suffer. If the ego self is left by itself and nobody is giving the ego the love that it wants, it will feel alone. This is really important to understand. It's only the ego self that feels alone. And the second step then, is to remember that you are never alone and to connect with your higher self. And so whatever answer you might need to something, go deep inside, just calm yourself, relax, breathe deeply and slowly, and then ask the question that you want to ask, that you want an answer to, that would help you to come out of maybe a situation where you do feel alone or not loved or not wanted, not accepted. And by doing those two things, you are actually shifting your inner perception from I am so alone, poor me, nobody's there for me, I need someone, if I'm not going to have someone, I'm going to be depressed, and so on. You're shifting out of that human self back into your higher self, because you always have those two options. You can live your life from either of those two selves. And of course, the more you are reconnecting with your true higher self, the more you're living from your own love and your own peace and joy, the more expanded you will feel, the more connected you will feel, the more loved you will feel, the more joyous you will feel, and the more you will be at peace. So it's our own choosing that makes us either happy or unhappy and alone. And this is really powerful. This is a really powerful shift in thinking. It might take some practice, and you might need reminding again and again that you already are loved, that you are always with your higher self, that you always have a higher force around you, and that you're always connected to all that is, that you always have what you need. This is how I work with my clients in my one-to-one sessions, to help them really to come out of their ego minds, to solve the situation for the little child so she feels loved and looked after, so she can let go of her bitterness maybe, or her resentment or her anger towards a parent, and she can then be at peace again. She will feel this issue is resolved, and therefore you will not get these fears come up again when you are in a situation of losing something or somebody. And it's really my highest objective is always to help you to come back to your own love, so you can love yourself unconditionally. Because if you go around believing you are all alone and nobody's there for you, you're coming from a false perception, and it's actually not loving. You're not loving yourself when you have that perception. you're cutting yourself off your own love supply that you have in your heart, and therefore you're going to feel depressed. So my aim is to help you to love yourself unconditionally in all ways, so that you can look after yourself, you can fill your own cup, and so you can give out your own love to other people and help them uplift themselves and feel more loving towards themselves. Because we cannot do that with an empty cup. So if that helped you, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more tips and practices on how to help yourself to live your life from love. Please love and to love yourself. And also, I'm going to have another video come up here that is giving you the secret of really dealing with emotional triggers. That's really helpful to know what you can do to help yourself when you get emotionally triggered. Okay, I look forward to seeing you again next time, and take care of yourself and lots of love.